And I am wanted.
And I am worthy.
And I am called.
And I am purposeful.
And I am accepted.
And I am complete.
And I am chosen.
And I am healed.
My name is Carrie, and I am complete. I grew up in a home where Jesus was a common part of conversation. He was a part of our family, and we were very involved in church activities and all that that had to do with. But it wasn't until my early 20s that I really developed a relationship with the Lord. At that moment, everything shifted, and I felt purpose really come into my life for the first time. I got involved in ministry at a church that had a great community of just faith and worship and fellowship, and the Lord spoke to me about working with youth children. And at that moment in time, He really started to cultivate deep desires in my heart to share with youth kids the things that I didn't learn about Him as a young person. I began working in youth ministry and leadership there. Throughout that season, my life just, everything was going in such an incredible direction. I was working under an incredible youth pastor. A lot of deep things were being planted in my life for really the first time. Somewhere along about the end of that year, I met a guy who also was a youth pastor. Shortly after, there was a lot of pressure to kind of follow him in ministry. So out of that pressure, I did follow him. The Lord had me in a really awesome season of just doing some incredible things in my life. Spiritually, a deep work, healing, and He wasn't finished with that time period. And so I really kind of wandered away from where He had placed me to follow this person in ministry. In that moment, I was so sad that I sort of walked away from what God had done in my life. It led to a season of real darkness, total depression. That relationship ended within a year, but following that time period, I just had gone so far down that I really didn't know how to pick myself back up. I was so disappointed in myself for walking away, but also feeling like how could I, after making such an amazing decision to follow the Lord and hear His voice, how could I walk away? And how could He love me again after that? So I had years that I kind of walked through that were just not pretty, It led to a lot of unpretty decisions, a lot of wasted time, a lot of just despair, a lot of frustration, and a lot of feeling like God will never feel the same way about me again. Fast forward in my story to 2011, and I was with a friend at her house one night, and she had this book on her countertop, and it was the Bible in 90 Days. I saw it on her counter, and I was like, what is this? And she said, oh my gosh, this it's, the Bible from front to back, but it's just a lot. It's a lot of reading. It's 12 pages of the Bible a day. And I was like, well, you know what? I've got time for that. And I felt like it was going to be a really great way for me to catch up on time that had been lost. And so I couldn't get away from it. I drove home that night, and I was like, Lord, I don't know, but I feel like something new is coming. Got home that night, and I was flipping through my Bible app, just kind of looking for some things, and I saw the Bible in 90 Days on my Bible app, and I was like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm doing that. And I knew it was going to be a huge commitment, and I knew it was going to be hard, a long, hard season, but I was ready. That was in January of 2011. And so I started reading the Bible in 90 days, and somewhere along about February, I was in the story where Solomon was building the temple. And it said Solomon started building the temple in the 4th year of his reign, and he finished it in the 11th year. It took 7 years to complete. And in that moment, the Holy Spirit in my bedroom, came rushing in, and He said, Carrie, I was building my temple in the entire time. Nothing was wasted. And I lost it. I sobbed, and I laughed, and I cried, and that went on for an hour, and I thought, there's no way I could have put that parallel together. And the number 7 in Hebrew represents spiritual completion and perfection. And I knew that. So in that moment, the Lord He knew exactly what I needed to hear to shut the voice of the enemy and be able to move forward. And so what an amazing moment of redemption for me to just hear that season's over. You're complete. And for him to remind me, like, I never walked away. I was there the whole time, and I still love you the same. Like, you're still just like you were in my eyes. Nothing is different. You're still just as valuable to me, and your purpose is as well. My story is one that if you feel like you've walked away from something, if you feel like you have made mistakes in your story and that you can never be redeemed, God is always working to complete your story. And He is the completion for all that we need, all that we desire. He's it.